set in on some of the conversations, be a fly on the wall in some of the conversations. I realize right about now that I'm probably the least credentialed person to talk to any of you guys today, so bear with me a little bit. We are a brand new church plant in the Cleburne area, and if you're wondering why Cleburne, I'm still kind of asking the Lord about that. I'm still
church planner.
Yeah. So, if you're wondering where Cleburne is, it doesn't even make the map, man. It's like down here somewhere in hell. But we've arrived in February. It's practically hell. Not really. Listen, we're right now in a place that is just, it fluctuates so much. There's things as a family pastor, as a youth pastor, things that you deal with, but you don't feel the full brunt of the force of all ministry impacting you at once. And that's been something new that I've had to walk through over the course of the last 6 months as we've gone to build this church, as we've gone to follow the Lord and what He's asked us to do in this church. So I wanted to bring our hearts back to a place of really what's been the anchor that's kind of held me through all of that. And I know some of you have already planted churches. I think one of you is on your 4th or something like that. We need to do lunch more. I get a lot of questions. But there's certain foundational things that are absolutely vital throughout this that keeps me from just being tossed recklessly to and fro, dashed against the reef. And listen, I know that one of the most important things as this church is starting to go vertical, as we're starting to really see ministry get started, really starting to plant our roots in the town of Cleburne. One is on this foundational level of things that I know that we need. One is collaboration. One is communication. One is encouragement. And I'm blessed, man. I got to start in a very healthy place. I got to start at the Creek. The Creek was a place that Matt wanted to make sure that jumping out and launching this ship, it wasn't something that we were just, hey, the Lord said go, and I'm out day one. There was a process behind it that we walked through, a process of building some strong foundational things, and all of that has been so important in the entire process. Five Stone has been, I can't even begin to tell you how Five Stone has helped, just because I'm the lead pastor at the church. I'm the worship pastor at the church. I'm the executive pastor at the church. I do everything, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't do one piece that would probably overtake more of my time than any, and that's something that Kevin does, all the accounting side of it. I'm sure I would be giving this message right now from like a prison, like Paul wrote his epistles, because I would have messed something up by now. But so those foundational things are huge, but I want to talk about the one thing that is, without question, held me the tightest through all this. And that's the confirmation of the call of God on my life. Mm-hmm. And no matter how bad things get, no matter how crazy the town of Cleburne is, and it's crazy. It's good. That one thing has kept me there. That one thing will keep me locked in. That one thing is going to keep me from walking away and deserting what God has called me to do. Coming into Cleburne, we came with a simple mentality of doing kingdom work. Our desire wasn't necessarily to build a church. I mean, that is what we're doing. But the heart behind what we've always said from the beginning is this is going to be about the kingdom of God. If we seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, I know that my needs are going to be taken care of. I know that God has me exactly where He wants me. So as we were going through this process, this is almost the fulfillment of 2 years. From the first time that the Lord spoke it to me. Like Matt spoke it over me way before I ever received it. He's like, hey, we may launch you out one day. And I was like, cool, I'm happy with what I'm doing. Don't need that. Well, around October.
Awesome.
Yeah, about October of 2 years ago is when the Lord started to move on my heart for it. And I remember going to my wife and telling my wife, saying, hey, I think the Lord is calling us to plant a church. And she said, no, He's not. I said, cool. Well, so the last thing that I was going to do was fight with my wife over it. That's just not how we do things in our home. So I simply prayed and said, Lord, you know what? If you're calling us to do this thing, change my wife's heart, and then we'll start moving forward.
Good job.
So
Good job.
Around February, March of a year and a half-ish ago was when my wife came to me and said, I feel like the Lord has begun to really speak to me over this thing. And it's at that point that she made the prayer one night. She said, Lord, where have you called us and when have you called us? That night she has a dream, kind of your Acts 16 dream of the Macedonian man like calling you over. Well, she has a dream where a voice says to her in this dream, it's going to be Cleburne in January. So she woke up, she tells me that. She'd never heard of the town of Cleburne before. I kind of had a vague idea where it was, and I showed her where it was on the map, and I remember telling her, baby, I promise you, telling you, this is just a confirmation of the call. I don't think he's calling us to Cleburne. I'm pretty positive that's not the place. And Matt knows this well, man. I fought it for 9 months. I did not want to go to Cleburne. In fact, my plant location, there's a Chisholm Trail Parkway that runs right about through there. Like, Crowley is blowing up. Like, it is, the fields are white, man. It looks good. Like, there's a new footprint of the Tarleton State campus going there, 185,000 people over the, projected to be there. Like, I've done some homework on this. Like, that was my place, man. And Matt was like, yeah, it looks good. But the Lord kept saying, no Cleburne, no Cleburne, no Cleburne. So finally, 9 months into the process, the Lord makes it so abundantly clear that we know that it's going to be anything other than disobedience if we don't arrive in Cleburne. And anytime I go to make a big decision, anytime the Lord leads us to a place where, man, some big life change is happening and He's calling us to do something that's huge, I've always kind of had the heart of Gideon, which may not be the best heart to have. But the heart of Gideon was one of, Lord, if this is really you talking, I need some confirmation in this. Make the blanket wet and the ground dry. That happens and you're like, well, that wasn't good enough. Reverse the process, Lord. Well, that was kind of the way we walked through all this. And the Lord met us in our lack of faith in all those places because He had a desire to put us in a community. And it's because of that, and it's because of this 9-month process that we went through that we just sought out the Lord. And now I stand really just crossing the threshold of what God called us to do. The waves of ministry, the pressures of ministry, the craziness in the community, the lack of desire for some pastors for us to even be there, to be honest with you, has all come upon us in the weight of a team that has followed us out there to do God's work. There's no way, even with a network of unbelievable men and women in my life, would I be able to stand amidst that without knowing the confirmation of God in my life. So I really, if there's anything that I can add of value to this situation, because like I said, I know a lot of you guys have planted churches before, you've been in those processes. There's going to be people that come in under your wings that haven't, though. And they need to understand the pressure that ministry causes. But listen, even in the midst of the crazy, even in the midst of all the craziness that we're walking through, I know this. I know that God is with me in that fire. I know that. And I know that because of all the ways that I had a faithful pastor pour into me and the ways that the Lord has shown this and revealed this to me. So, for those people that come up under you, those people who desire to plant, or if you're in a place where you're about to plant, make sure that the confirmation of the call is absolutely there. And then all this other stuff, the networks, the 5 stones, the people that God puts in your life, the open doors, the faithfulness and the favor of God that you find, man, those are all just, that's the sweet point of the ministry. Because you have brothers and sisters you can collaborate with. You see the open hand of God. You see the faithfulness of God in the land. But you know you have that one thing that you can hold on to that no one can take away. God has called me to do this. So even if, we've always said it from the beginning, and it wasn't a trite thing that I said. I said that no matter what, if God calls us to Cleburne for one soul and that's it, we're good. I still carry that mentality. We've seen that one soul. I want more. But honestly, whatever God has called us to, therefore, as long as I continue to pursue the kingdom, pursue the King, pursue His righteousness in my life, I know that the favor of God is going to be on us. And no matter what that looks like, whether I'm abased or whether I abound, that God is with me in the fire, that He's there. So for all those people that come in under you, for you stepping out in it, know that you're going to hit like a sledgehammer at times. And I'm walking through that. I'm in that. And the fact that God called also my wife to be a first-year teacher in the midst of all of it, like, I don't get that. That's a level of crazy I didn't know existed. But I think I'm going to pray for teachers more often. But anyway, so thank you guys for just giving me a chance to talk. But I hope our hearts are always centered on this. There's a sovereign, living, God.
Yes.
It's sustaining.
Yeah.
It's holding all things together. And if we're not rooted and grounded in His promises, rooted and grounded in our relationship with Him, this tidal wave is going to crush us, and it's going to cause us to drift off into sea.
Yeah.
Let your anchor be set there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job.
Excellent. Excellent.